Rock or not? Are the Strokes rock or not? Let's figure it out. We're going to look on the music matrix. We're also going to look at the average of the top 10 songs. That's upside down. We're going to look at the average of my top 10 songs in terms of catchiness and generally kind of mixed in with what most people think. Blah, 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 blah. They're right there. You're going to see it in a second. But here's the real thing. Rock or not? How do we determine that? First, we have the music matrix. And so you go the energy level, and it goes from 1 to 11, Spinal Tap reference. Anyways, 1 to 11. And so you kind of get like indie, punk, metal. And then once you're there at that level, you come over in terms of catchiness 1 through 10. And if you have a punk band and they write a sufficiently catchy song, it becomes a punk rock song. Anything that becomes catchy that's like high energy gets called rock. Anything that's indie, jazz, blues, country, etc., lower energy, that becomes sufficiently catchy just gets called pop. Now, you think, fly me to the moon, let me sing amongst the stars. For Frank Sinatra gets, he's jazz, but then he goes into pop when he's really catchy. That's what happens. But this only works for one song, so either you average it over 10 songs, you look at the whole catalog, and so people go, is it rock? Do you mean the catalog? Do you mean the top 10 songs, which is what most people actually remember from a band, right? When they buy a ticket to a festival, that's what they're thinking about, right? So that's a very different thing, right? And so then you get down to like, how do I break this all down? So we go to the next chart. The next chart is about predictability and catchiness, because energy is pretty obvious. You listen to a band, you go, okay, Slipknot has more energy than the Strokes has more energy than jazz, but there's some fast jazz and there's some slow the Strokes. So how do you square that circle? Now, we look here at the bottom. The biggest predicting factor is actually, ironically, how predictable the song is. Now, if it's completely formulaic and corny, it's a Joe Bonamassa song, which is not good. Now, it's a dud, guaranteed. If it's completely incoherent and quirky, it is a Mars Volta song. Once again, a complete dud, not good. Dud in terms of catchiness. You can't go higher than that. Now, as you go in, you have the opportunity to get a deep cut. And then as you go in a little bit further, now you can have hits, deep cuts and stuff, and then you get all the way in. Now you can get all the way to accessing a smash hit and a lot of hit, and still there's danger of deep cut and still pretty good danger of dud zone. Anything below here is not, a hit. And that's most of it. And so even if you do end up in the money zone, not the quirky territory of the formulaic, but you're in the money zone, which is in between balanced and zany, right where the sweet spot is. Balanced, an example is Back in Black by AC/DC. Zany, an example, is Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. If you get any more formulaic than Back in Black, it's not that catchy. It can't be a smash hit. Maybe it can still be a hit like every other AC/DC song, but it's not going to be the same. And then if it's any zany or quirkier than Bohemian Rhapsody, it just turns into garbage. It can still be a hit potentially, but it mostly is going to turn into garbage. Now, most of the Strokes tends to be here, at least the top 10 songs. Some of it ends up being here. A lot of it that's not in the top 10 tends to be here, right? Not a lot, but anything that isn't here tends to be here. They don't tend to have a lot of quirky garbage. That tends to be the Voids, Julian Casablancas' side band. But you actually see what happened is with the Strokes. I'm just going to cut to the chase. With the Strokes, they were in the sweet zone for maybe 4 records, 5 records actually. I liked it, but none of them. Most of the songs on the 5th record are not hitting in here or hitting in here. Anyways, I didn't want to notice what kind of asshole drives the Lotus. Come on, get with me. Down, we can. Down. I'm getting closer. I didn't want to notice. Oh my God, catchy, but still not a hit. And then I think it goes into dead zone for me, but you probably call it deep cut if you liked the latest album and the EP before it. EP before it's not bad. I think the latest album was bad in my opinion. But now we look at actual friggin' flip over a friggin' chart. Chartonomics over here. Shark Bunny, do not rip, thank God. Okay, so now we're looking at the distribution of the catalog. This is an important factor because if you're thinking about just the hits of a band, are they rock, are they pop, are they indie, are they punk? It's different from if you're looking at the whole catalog on average, right? Or if you're looking at a particular album, you can look at the average and the variance. Same with here. A lot of the stuff can be measured. Energy can be measured based off of how much energy a person gets from listening to a song. Catchiness can be measured usually by how often people want to listen to it, but also by how much it gets stuck in their head and probably other metrics. That's a little more ambiguous. But anyways, we look at the Strokes and we look at their catalog. I think the Strokes has a classic catalog. I'm going to say they have a classic catalog. The reason is their first album is all no, I'm not afraid. It's mostly, my opinion, and same with Room on Fire. It's mostly hit and B sides, and then same with First Impressions Verse. And then you've got Under the Cover of Darkness. I'd say Under the Cover of Darkness probably more B side territory. There are one or two duds on there, maybe three. And then you get to Welcome to Japan or whatever, Karma or whatever that album's called, the red one. 50/50's on it. 50/50's like wanna, like, oh, I love that song. But it's clearly a deep cut. It's not a hit, right? So that ends up here. But most of it so far has been in this range, like a whole album here. 2/3 of the first two albums is here, 1/3, and then it ends up being like kind of like 2/3 over here, and then it gets a whole album over here. So like maybe there's a little bump here. But then you get the other records, which I would say are a little bit of duds and mostly B-sides. So I would say classic catalog tends to be what you get with the Strokes. You get what you want, you buy what you want, or your money back. The Strokes end up looking like that. That's duds. That's the ratio. And this is a ratio, not total quantity. For example, David Bowie has like 20 or 30 of the best hits ever, you could say. Certainly wouldn't be a crazy opinion. But most of his catalog is dog poop. He has like 400 million songs, and they're really not that good. And so, like I had to say with Rush, and I like Rush, but a broken clock is right twice a day, right? And so a bad songwriters can write a good song once every 8 albums, 800 million songs. And so if you're talking about how skilled are they at songwriting in general on average, and you want a deep well of songs to go through, Limp Bizkit and David Bowie and Rush are not your bands. They only have like 10 songs you can listen to, right? Now, meanwhile, the Strokes, they have a lot. Same with Queens of the Stone Age. Now, Queens of the Stone Age has way less hits than Stroke. That's their only flaw, if you could even call it a flaw. That's just a difference in choice because they purposely kind of do that. Now, the Strokes' historical impact, present impact, aesthetic, stage design, outfits, logos, merch, all of this, 100. What is it? I just like to get to your apartment. That whole thing. Iconic. The musicians are iconic. Overall, excellent. So they're excellent there. They're there. If you care about brands, they're talented. If you care about musicianship in terms of vibe and scale, they're also talented as musicians. When I talk about songwriting, great songwriters. They're not just one-time fluke songwriters. Live show, I put there. Lyrics great. Chords are good. Oh my God, I moved the camera. Oh my God, what happened? Melodies, riffs, solos. Overall, they are talented in all of these. These first videos I'm doing here, these rockernauts, a lot of these bands tend to be quite unanimous because they're bands that I've listened to their entire catalogs and that I want to talk about and I'm excited to talk about. And that's usually because they're good in all three of these things, and I care about all three of these things. Now, Rush, I just did a video on. They aren't good songwriters, such to the point. That's why I weighed this so heavily, and I actually had to weigh it even more heavily because they were red. They were really bad. But the Strokes are great musicianship, great songwriting, great brand, and so the controversy regarding if people think they're good or bad is pretty low. Everyone's kind of ubiquitous. Now we get to the home stretch, which is thinking about what 10 songs did Connor O'Farrell pick as his top 10, not Rush, the Strokes songs, and where would Connor O'Farrell, world-famous Gen Z rock star, the black man, the dark, wicked prince of destiny himself, the rock and roll messiah, the gentleman himself. So, if you're looking at their catalog, the catalog, since it does look like this, it's consistent on quality, you're not going to see a lot of what happens with some bands is if their catalog, if their top 10 songs are good, usually they are if I'm talking about them and if anyone knows about them, they end up somewhere over here. But if they have a bad catalog, the catalog drags them back if you're looking at the whole thing on average. If you're just looking at the top 10, they end up being here. The Strokes, though, they don't have that. So pretty much no matter what 10 songs you pick, they're going to stay on the left of the banger line, the quality line, the good band line. But depending on what 10 songs you pick, they might flip. I'm going to bet they flip down to indie pop kind of range, or they're like rock, punk, indie, this whole range circle here. So they could either be down here or they could be probably up here. But let's see it. The songs, for example, if the Strokes wrote songs that were less catchy, they would be called an indie punk band. If the songs weren't catchy, if the songs were so damn catchy, they end up here. That's my, I think I've seen that. Let's look. What did I pick? I picked The Room Is on Fire. Yeah, the night's not over. You're not trying fast enough. I like to change your lace. You ran me off the road. The wait is over. I'm not taking over. You're no longer laughing. I'm not drowning fast enough. And then last night she said, nobody don't feel left now. And then anyways, we'll miss the good old days. And then some people think they're always right. Oh, others are quiet and uptight. And if I'm in a night. Whoa, that it don't get all. That don't alone. And then under the cover of darkness, ding, 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 ding. Wait, that's I wanna be forgotten, and I don't wanna be reminded. I said, please don't make it out. No, I won't. Yeah. But that's not on the list. But anyways, that's a good song. Juicebox, dude. I'm gonna come over here. We got a city to love. Why don't you come over here? Yeah, we got a city to love. Time, Lord, that I told you. Oh my God, so good. I said, I'll take it, I'll leave it, I'll take it, I'll leave it, I'll just take it, I'll leave it, don't take it. Ding, 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 ding. I'm not alone, mind of a girl. I know she was. I said, I'll take it, I'll leave it, I'll take it, I'll leave it, I'll just take it, I'll leave it, I'll take it. And then Alone Together. Oh my God. And then, I didn't take no shortcuts. I think that's different song. A Modern Age. And then so it'll be there, and he talks back. Somehow he's trying so hard to be like them. And stop on top of let me go in both eyes. And I stop on top of let me go. Try that once, said he didn't like it, he tried to hide it, said I've been doing this for 25 years in love, not listening no more, and these rules, they keep asking for more, but to do, so good, and then I take the light bus, I take the last train. Traffic, you see, is hard to explain. All the right things in all the wrong ways, and I can write here, and I can explain. Ain't the last. Oh my God, so good. But so overall, you see, average is a 8.9 on catchiness, pretty ubiquitous. But some of those songs end up being a little bit lower. So what do I put? The Las Troques. I put them at, we said, 6.2 on energy. I think they are slightly punky, and then they end up at a like 9.8, 9.2 on catchiness. So they are firmly a rock band, depending on my songs. But if you pick probably the top 10 songs on Spotify, instead of being here, they probably end up like right along this line, and they get to a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 or an 8.5. Still, though, I think they're here. If the Strokes wrote less catchy songs, they'd be called indie punk. Since their songs are good, they get called rock and or punk, and people still call them indie rock or indie punk rock, or you know what I mean? Because when you go across this line and or up, you can add the word. So if you're an indie band, but you add more energy, you get called indie and punk. And then if you actually become good, you get called rock on top of it. If you're by the taste of my lips, I'm on a lie. If you're Toxic by Britney Spears, you're a good pop song that has more energy, you get called rock. If you are now this looks like a job for me, so everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it's so empty without me. I said, come on lips, fuck that. If you Eminem, if you're a catchy Eminem song, you're high energy and you're catchy, you end up being called rock. But can rap be rock? Rap is a lyrical style. It has nothing to do with the energy or the catchiness, hence why it gets played. Catchy rap songs that are high energy are played on rock radio. Um, yeah, and so you're like, but it's electronic, and there's like hip hop has a thing. It's like hip hop and rap when high energy. Any genre when it gets high enough energy and catchiness gets called rock. If it's just catchy in that genre, it gets called pop / that genre. Done. Now, if you agree with me, disagree with me, want to see other bands, I talked about Arctic Monkeys, I talked about Blur, I talked about Everything Good, Everything Nice, Sugar and Spice, Eat It Twice, I talked about Queens of Stone, I talked about Slipknot, I talked about System of a Downs. I'm going to do 365 of these videos this year, so let me know what's happening, crack-a-lacking, what's moving, grooving, clicking, and ticking. If you're a Latina, hit me up. Any Latinas? Let's get some girth going for the Latinas out there. Hey, if you're Latina, how's it going? How's it going, Latina? If you're a Latino, stay the heck away, or send me a cousin. Anyways, yes, let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know how it's crack-a-lacking, stacking, and whacking. Oh, that's disgusting. I don't mean that. I mean whacking like a hammer against a wall because you're angry that the Strokes haven't made a good record because the Strokes split up into the vibes, the voids. Look at the neck, how girth and striated. I know I got to lean out. Also, actually, putting on muscle right now. Oh, why am I doing that? I'm popping. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Freaky. Oh, ow, I got to pop a muscle. Click the joint. Ow. The bicep, the form. The bicep is the. So you can see the bicep vein in the light. There you go. There you go. Anyways, if you're in Austin, Texas, hit me up. And you're Latina. If you're a Latina, if you're sufficiently beautiful, anyways, you can also hit me up. No, if you want some videos, or whatever, let me know in the comments what you guys want to see. Tell me where you agree, disagree, etc. And yeah, the Voids took the zaniness and some of the good, of the Strokes, and then the Strokes retained all of the formulaic. Yep. Okay. Well, outro. It's my band, Black Licorice. Listen to the song. Don't tell me. Anyways, next video is gonna be the White Stripes. Let me know.